Okay, sorry for the interruption. So, nawala ako sa Zoom. Balik ta. Naghang akong laptop. So, again, how do we write the motivation sa atuang research topic? Wait lang, asa na to the page? This one. So, just like this example, so, di ba, na-introduce yung topic na there is a problem with the increased na paglaganap ng fake news, and then it might affect the vaccine confidence. Now, yung pag-present nila ng reasons or yung motivation nila to pursue this topic is actually pwedeng through the use of statistics. That's how we also establish the urgency. Statistics class, like this one, the event, meron silang sinite na example dito, like example, the Dengvaxia scare. That's an example of fear mongering. And then, ano yung naging effect ng Dengvaxia scare? So we have here the event caused the trust in the vaccines to plummet from 82% in 2015, and then naging 20% na lang siya in 2020. So, though hindi naman talaga directly sinabi that this is the motivation in conducting the study, but somehow, if you look at their paper, ito yung naging driving force nila, bakit they want to study this one. Kasi remember, we also have our vaccinations these days na merong COVID, no? So, ito yung bali naging motivation nila na due to that thing na nagkaroon ng Dengvaxia scare, bumaba. And after that, they go on with discussing what's the problem with the vaccination. So that's how they presented their motivation in this study. And as you can see, this is just one, and wala lang siya 1/2 na introduction. But if you look at their paper, they have already discussed their research problem. They have established the reason or their motivation why they want to conduct their study, including the urgency. Bakit ba kailangan talaga studyhan ito? So dito sa second paragraph nila, na-mention na nila yan, the urgency. So kaya kung kahit hindi natin binabasa, but you can see that there is COVID-19 there and that we are doing vaccination of the COVID-19. So kailangan talaga natin siyang studyhan. And then yung last part ng kanilang introduction is actually about the objective of their study. So kung balikan natin yung aking slide, the last part will be the purpose of the study, wherein you have to discuss now the objective of the study, or yung ano ba talaga yung goal natin. So let's read their last na paragraph. The emergence of medical fake news and fear-mongering during the COVID-19 pandemic might significantly impact how the millennials of General Santos City view vaccination. To deal with the threat of vaccine hesitancy, the researchers need to know if fake news and fear-mongering affect the vaccine confidence of the millennials. So that's their objective. They want to know whether the fake news, the fear-mongering affects the confidence of the millennials in General Santos City sa pagpabakuna, especially now na meron tayong COVID-19 pandemic. So that's the last one. The first paragraph, meron lang silang 3 paragraph dito, pero they have already presented number 1, their research topic or their subject matter. Number 2, what's the next one? The importance of this research problem. So just like this one, actually, if you read the whole paragraph sa second one, you will see there the importance of doing this research. Number 3, their motivation. So by like giving examples, giving statistics of what is the current situation of the vaccination, that's how they presented their motivation in pursuing this research problem. And then number 4, always yan siya class, at the end of the introduction, you will present the objectives of the study. So, yan lang. Yan lang yung introduction. Hindi naman ko kailangan na masyadong mahaba. So, hindi ko na present or if you would like to see it, yung last ko na present na example, this is kasi about pharmacy and medyo mahaba itong introduction na ito. I think sumobra siya. Yeah. Sumobra siya ng 2 pages because the reason for this is kailangan kasing i-establish muna yung current situation sa Philippines when it comes to pharmacy education, kaya medyo mahaba yung second paragraph. And then aside from that, aside from establishing the situation in the Philippines, kailangan pa mag-cite ng different methods of teaching, not only in the Philippines but also sa school. Pero nevertheless, at the end of the introduction, makikita pa rin yung objective ng study. So like with the increasing amount of drug information and as the institution is challenged to provide research-based instructional materials to conform with SHED requirements and to integrate its mission, vision, and goals, this research will be conducted to develop an instructional material in teaching pharmacology. So that is the objective of the study, to develop the instructional material. So everything ends with the objective of the study. Ano ba ang gusto nating makuha? So questions on how to write the introduction. Actually, nag-expect ako basta wala pang research problem, most likely wala pa masyadong questions on how to write the introduction kasi you cannot picture out what you are going to do. Wala pa kayong problem. So lisod pa maghuna-huna og unsaon ninyo inyong introduction. But nevertheless, if meron na kayong problem and start na kayo with your introduction, I'll still help you with that and how you're going to do the introduction following the guidelines na kailangan makikita natin yung 4. Siyempre yung topic, yung importance, yung ating motivation, or yung reason natin why we are going to conduct that study. Mostly mga statistics yan siya class, especially if you are talking about a certain condition ha. Example, COVID-19. The motivation there will be most likely the statistics. Ilan na ba yung may COVID-19 nowadays? So mostly ano yan siya, international, and then national meaning sa Philippines, and even local. So because of these numbers, you really need to study this research topic. So muna siya ang atoang motivation. So if you read a lot of studies like in the internet, in the introduction class, marami kayong makikita ng mga statistical numbers because that's how they establish their reasons, their motivation, why they want to pursue the study. And then lastly, everything again ends with the objectives of the study. So I hope na when you start writing the introduction, you will have these 4 things in mind. And then i-arrange natin siya using syempre correct na paragraph na arrangement. Kung ano yung na-learn nyo sa English nyo, how to develop a paragraph, susundin pa rin natin yun. So, again, sa introduction, hindi naman kailangan na masyadong mahaba. 1.5 pages will be enough for you to write everything and introduce your research problem. So that's again for the introduction. Now, the second part of the introduction will be the statements of the problem or BSOP. Now, sa SOP, you will see here questions class. Pwedeng hindi questions pero in declarative sentence siya. Yung question, gawin lang siyang declarative na statement and then pwede nyo na siyang ilagay sa statements of the problem. But before that, ano ba ang laman ng SOP? The SOP class is actually your objective, yung objective natin sa study, but it will be broken down into specific na questions or sub-problems. So galing pa rin siya sa general problem natin, general objectives natin, and then atin siyang i-break down into smaller one and specific ones. So ang first part talaga class ng statement of the problem will be the general statement. The general statement of the objective or the general statement of our problem. Tapos, ang second part will now be the specific questions that you are going to answer sa inyong study mismo. So, wala dapat kayo class i-include na question na hindi nyo masasagot by gathering your data. Example, your study is experimental. Wala dapat question dyan, class, na hindi nyo makukuha during your experiment. Hindi nyo masasagot even doing the experiment. Or kung yung study nyo naman is a descriptive one, quantitative pa rin pero descriptive, class, ang tandaan nyo, wala din dapat kayong questions dyan, specific question, na hindi nyo masasagot even when you have collected your data using your questionnaires. Now, paano naman yung mga qualitative ang study? Actually, ang mga qualitative ang study, wala silang statement of the problem. Wala silang SOP. Instead, ang nakalagay after the introduction will be the purpose of the study. Let me write sa screen. For qualitative researches, kasi we don't know sino yung magka-quali sa inyo. So yung qualitative researches, instead of SOP, they'll have the purpose of the study. So ang sa purpose of the study nila, they will just state what they are going to look into the study while interviewing the participants. So mostly, ano yan siya? It will be about the experiences. So if they'll state the purpose of the study, they'll just write na, the purpose of the study is to explore the experiences. So ano ba yun na mga experiences and sino ba yung respondents? So ano na yan siya? Either one sentence or one paragraph. Basta directly the purpose sa ilahang study. Pero pag quantitative gani ang research class, we really have the statement of the problem. So what are this? The statement of the problem. First, we have here the questions under this SOP must be arranged in the order of the researcher's research design. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Kung ano yung una nyong itatanong sa inyong mga respondents or kung ano yung unang makukuha nyo when you conduct the experiment, yun dapat yung number 1 question ninyo. Now, for most quantitative descriptive research, the first question always ask about the demographic profile of the respondents. Diba? You have experienced that when you are answering questionnaires, the first thing that you need to fill in there is syempre the name, though that is optional, and then the rest will be about your age, your gender, or other things about your profile. We call that demographic profile. So we have the civil status, income, educational attainment, religion, etc. Those things that you think na kailangan nyo isali doon sa questionnaire ninyo kasi kailangan nyo yun ma-establish na ito yung aming mga respondents, yung age nila is from 25 to a certain one like 35. Tapos yung civil status nila, mostly they are married or mostly they are single. So again, you think of the area or profile ng characteristics ng respondents ninyo na gusto nyong malaman. And yun lang yung isasalin nyo in the question. Yun lang din ang dapat makita natin sa questionnaire. So again, most of the quantitative descriptive research first nag-a-ask ng question about the profile of the respondents. And then yung mga succeeding questions na are sub-problems or sub-questions that will help you answer the overall objective of the study. So it might be questions on problems encountered by your respondents in terms of either their physical, social, psychological, or professional areas in their life as the need arises. So depende sa inyong study mismo. And then number 3, other questions which may have close bearing with the study on hand. I'll give you an example later. And then lastly, we have here questions which may determine the significant relationships of the variables, pwede ding significant differences of the variables, factors, or constructs with those of the problem. So again, let me give you an example of that. We have here, let's go back sa medical fake news. So let's look at their statement of the problem. So di ba sabi ko, magsi-start yan siya with the general statement. So ano ba talaga yung objective nila, yung aim nila in this study? So as you can see, the first paragraph here, the study aimed to determine the impact of the medical fake news and fear-mongering during COVID-19 pandemic on vaccine confidence among the millennials in General Santos City. That's the general objective that they have in conducting this study. Gusto nila mabalaan kung nagyod by impact ang mga pagkalat sa medical fake news ug sa fear-mongering during the COVID-19 dito sa vaccine confidence of the millennials. That's the general statement. And then it has to be followed by the specific questions. So itong mga specific questions galing pa rin sa general objective nila. Ano lang siya, i-breakdown lang siya into smaller problems na kailangan natin masagot. Again, kailangan natin masagot in the data gathering and the results section of the paper. So lahat ng questions na isasalin nyo sa statement of the problem class, kailangan talagang sagutin in the results section. So yung pinasa nyo class na concept paper, balikan nyo yon. Di ba meron dong mga research questions? Balikan nyo yung mga ginawa nyo na research questions doon and assess whether you can really answer that by the questionnaire na naiisip nyo na gawin and i-administer nyo doon sa respondents or hindi. Or kung experimental naman, tingnan nyo yung mga research questions ninyo kung masasagot ba yon by doing the experiment. Kasi pag hindi, kailangan hindi talaga sila dapat included in the statement of the problem. Now, since this one is a, what you call that, quantitative descriptive research, then take note, the number 1 question there will be about the demographic profile. So kaya dito, specifically, the study aimed to answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of? So para sa kanila, itong tatlo lang yung important na malaman about their respondents: educational attainment, occupation, and family monthly income. Yun lang yung gusto nila ma-establish sa research nila. So you can see, wala na silang age kasi syempre yung age kasi nakaspecify na they are just going to conduct their study sa mga millennials. So hindi na kailangan class na i-ask mo pa siya dito sa statement of the problem kung ano yung age nila. And hindi din importante sa kanila yung gender. So wala na nila gi-appeal when it comes to the demographic profile. So it's up actually to the researcher if you think that specific profile is important in your study or not. So after the demographic profile, they have only one question here. What is the level of influence of medical fake news and fear-mongering during the COVID-19 pandemic on vaccine confidence among the millennials in General Santos City? Excuse me. So mao lang ni ang ilahang gusto nga question na ma-answer nila sa results sa ilahang paper. So mao lang pud na ang makita sa ilahang questionnaire. Kailangan lang nila mabalaan ang level of influence sa medical fake news and fear-mongering during the pandemic dito sa vaccine confidence sa millennials. Tapos number 3, so di ba ang ending ana class for quantitative research, most of the time nag-a-ask tayo ng either relationship or difference. So for them, yung last question nila, is there a relationship between medical fake news and fear-mongering during COVID-19 pandemic doon sa vaccine confidence among the millennials in General Santos City? So they only have 3 questions here. And these 3 questions are being answered sa results ng kanilang paper, results section ng kanilang paper. And ito lang din class yung mga questions na makikita in their questionnaire. I hope I have a copy here of their questionnaire. Medyo mahaba itong study nila. So if we look at their questionnaire, ito lang yung mga questions na lumabas. Okay, so this is their survey questionnaire. Syempre, the part 1 is about the demographic profile. Kasi diba, they need to establish first the educational attainment, the occupation, and even the monthly income ng kanilang mga respondents. And then sa part 2, they have the Likert scale here. So this is quantitative because we have numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that will represent whether their respondents agree sa mga statements na nandito. So by the way, yung mga statements na nilagay nila dito is about the fake news. May mga fake news sila na kinuha sa internet, and the respondents just have to check whether they believe or they agree with the statement. Like example, 5G mobile networks spread COVID-19. By the way, hindi lang nila nilagay ito na basta naisip nila. No, this is coming from the related literatures and studies na kinuha nila, like from the internet mostly. Kasi nandoon yung mga medical fake news. So pinavalidate nila ito if these are really fake news. And then ang second part ng kanilang included sa second part, this is letter A here about the fake news, and then the second part will be about the vaccine confidence. So tiningnan din nila whether the respondents, the millennials, will really go into vaccination or not. So hindi pa fully blown yung vaccination program at that time kasi. So yun lang yung nasa questionnaire nila. Hindi naman kasi kailangan complicated. So afterwards, nag-compute lang sila nito ng mga answers ng kanilang mga respondents. So definitely they have answered the first one, the fear-mongering, and then the vaccine confidence of the millennials. Tapos yung last part, gumamit sila ng statistical tool to determine whether the medical fake news and the vaccine confidence have relationship. So ganun yung pagka-present class ng SOP. Kailangan nasasagot talaga siya using the questionnaire and the results of the paper. So hindi pwede maglagay kayo dyan ng question na hindi niyo masagot. So hindi naman kailangan na masyadong marami. Depende yan siya sa need ng inyong study. So before tayo mag-continue, kasi itong isang study na pinipresent ko sa inyo, medyo marami yung statement of the problem. But kagaya ng previous one, nag-start pa rin with the general objective and then i-break down yung problem. Medyo marami lang kasi magtatanong pa ng status of teaching pharmacology sa school, performance pa ng mga students. Pero since this is a mixed method na study, mixed method kasi ito, both quanti and quali. So may questions dyan nga for quanti, like this performance and status, may mga numbers yan dyan. Pero ang mga next kasi na question is quali na. So what are the significant experiences, what of the students and the teachers, and based sa lahat ng findings, paano gagawin yung pharmacology na manual. So medyo complicated lang ito na study, kasi both quanti and quali. Pero nevertheless, if tinanong siya dyan sa statement of the problem, kailangan talaga siya sagutin class sa results sa paper. So kailangan nandoon siya sa questionnaire. I-ask mo siya sa respondents ng study ninyo. Now, itong mga yung mga qualitative na study, sometimes they have assumptions. But assumptions class are just beliefs class of the researchers para sa research nila. And pag assumption kasi hindi na kailangan i-test. So again, most of the time we don't state the assumption na sa research proposal. Pero you just need to know that there is assumptions when it comes to the research paper. So examples class of assumptions are the following. This study is conducted on the following assumptions. Number one, that the doctors and staff will use the proposed system. So even if wala nato nakita ang title sa ilahang research, we can see here that this is about a proposal of a new system to be used in like a certain hospital. And that the assumption is, since you are proposing, you believe that they will be using the proposed system. That's an assumption. And that the current clinic management is done manually and now requires automation. So you are assuming that this certain clinic na target ninyo is like doing things manually. And since you are proposing a new system, most likely this one is an automated system. Assumptions lang yan siya, beliefs, pero no need to test kung tama ba ang belief ng researcher or not. Ang tinitest natin class ang hypothesis. Ito talaga ang tinitest natin. So itong hypothesis should always be a part of our paper. So take note, when you say hypothesis, it's an educated guess. It's a tentative class na answer to our problem or a tentative solution. It's an educated guess because it will be coming from the different related literatures and studies na nababasa natin. It is tentative, thus it needs to be evaluated, it needs to be tested. And then we have types of hypotheses. Most of the time we use the null hypothesis, but we can also have the research or alternative hypothesis. I hope you are familiar with this since you are done with your statistics. So, di ba pag sinabing null hypothesis, it will deny the existence of like an attribute, or it will deny the significant relationship or significant difference between the variables. Now, since this is denying the existence of these variables, then we will be stating it in the negative form. So for example, there is no significant difference between the efficiency of male and female radiologic technologists in the hospital laboratories. So we are denying here na merong difference ang efficiency ng work ng babae at lalaki na radtech in the hospital laboratories. That's the null hypothesis. Yan lang yung tatandaan ninyo pag null, always in the negative form. So there is no, there is not. We will be denying the existence of these characteristics of the variables. Pero pag alternative hypothesis class, this is always stated in the positive form. That is why we are affirming or confirming the existence of the attribute between our variables. So if I'll give you an example, this is how we state the alternative or research hypothesis. There is a significant difference between the efficiency of male and female radiologic technologists in the hospital laboratories. So, yun lang yung pagkaiba na wala yung no dyan. Yan lang talaga ang kaibahan ng null and ng alternative hypothesis. So I told you na most of the time, we are using class the null hypothesis. So balikan natin yung share ko na example, and not this one kasi I don't have hypothesis for this one. Let's go back sa medical fake news. So balik tayo. That is stated after the statement of the problem. So we have the statement of the problem here. We have sets of questions, and then after that will be the null hypothesis. So the null hypothesis they have for this study is there is no significant relationship between medical fake news and fear mongering and vaccine confidence among the millennials in General Santos City. That is their null hypothesis. Now, mostly class, you have null hypothesis if you have questions like, is there a significant relationship? Is there a significant difference? Kapag may ganoon kayo na question class in your SOP, most likely you will have your hypothesis. And the hypothesis will just be a declarative statement of the question. So, di ba, meron silang question number 3, is there a significant relationship? Ang gagawin nila sa null hypothesis, gagawin yan nilang declarative statement, pero since null, so we will deny the existence of the relationship. That's how you state a null hypothesis. Diretso na. Di na kailangan lagyan ng HO, diretso na one sentence only. So again, magkakaroon ka lang ng null hypothesis if you have questions like, is there a significant relationship or is there a significant difference? So kung nakita nyo, questions number 1 and number 2 don't have hypothesis. Wala naman talaga tayong magagawa na hypothesis dito, class. Kasi like this one, what is the demographic profile of the respondents? Ano ba yung hypothesis na makukuha na, na magagawa natin? Diba wala? Wala tayong hypothesis for this. Even this one, what is the level? We cannot say that there is no high, there is a high level. We cannot answer this. So dito talaga tayo sa question number 3. Is there a significant relationship between medical fake news and fear mongering during the pandemic? Actually, this is also true from the with the other studies. Sorry if I'm on my Gmail kasi dito ko kasi makikita lahat ng mga studies class na copy ng mga studies ng mga students. Though I cannot really give this to you since kailangan sa tamananghid sa mga people involved kung sugot ba sila nga hatagan mo copy or dili. So I think that I have here the one na hindi ko pa na-open. Ay, asa man to? I need to see this demogs. Ayan, this one is a medtech study also, demographic profile and level of compliance to COVID-19 safety protocol. So this is the reason, class, why yung mga nagpo-propose ng COVID-19 protocols is most likely nire-reject ko kasi we have a finished study already. So this is being accepted na finished na, human na sila og data gathering procedure. So they have their introduction na about this one. Medyo mahaba lang itong introduction nila kasi they have to dig deeper with the different protocols that we have to prevent the COVID-19 transmission. But if you can look, if you can see their statement of the problem, they still have their general statement there, and you break down nila into different questions. But nevertheless, they started with the demographic profile gihapon. So unsa ang mga demographic profile na they consider in this study? We have the age, the gender, and the educational attainment. And then yung question nila, what is the level of compliance of the respondents to COVID-19 safety protocols? Yun lang kasi yung gusto nila malaman. Ano yung level nila ng pagsunod sa COVID-19 safety protocols. Tapos they have questions like, is there a significant relationship between demographic profile and the level of compliance? May relationship ba? For example, age. Kung mataas ba ang age, like kung mga elderly, mas taas din ba yung pagsunod sa what do you call that, COVID-19 protocols, or the other way around, yung mas bata yung mas sumusunod? That is what you call relationship. Pag relationship class, kung mataas ang isa, mataas po ang isa ka variable. So example, gender. May relationship ba ang gender sa pagsunod? Kung babae ba, mas sumusunod sa protocol? Kung lalaki, mas sumusunod din ba sa protocol, or the other way around? So meron din silang number 4, is there a significant difference on the level of compliance to COVID-19 safety protocols among the respondents in terms of age? Meron bang difference? Meron bang difference ang pagsunod ng mga bata sa mga matatanda, or sa mga millennials, sa mga Generation X? I don't know how they group this one according sa age. Or may question din kasi sila sa difference sa babae at sa lalaki. Meron bang difference ang pagsunod ng mga babae at lalaki? And yung educational attainment, meron bang difference when it comes to, meron kasi sila, if I can remember correctly, meron silang high school undergraduate, high school graduate, college undergraduate, college graduate, meron silang mga ganon. And they look into the difference, whether may difference ba kung college graduate or hindi college graduate when it comes to pagsunod sa COVID-19 protocol. So since dalawa yung question nila, class, meron silang is there a significant relationship, and meron silang is there a significant difference. Pagdating sa hypothesis nila, meron ding dalawang statement dito. Pero take note, naka-no pa rin, meaning most of the time we really use, class, the null hypothesis. So we will deny the relationship between the demographic profile and the level of compliance, and we will also deny the difference sa level of compliance ng mga respondents in terms sa kanilang age, gender, and educational attainment. So hanggang dyan na lang muna yung discussion ko. So from introduction to what you call that, hypothesis na lang muna. Hangto din lang po akong exam, class. Kay murag si Dean, sige na dyan ang text. Ay, sige na dyan ang chat nga masulod na mi sa meeting.